right here. What an awesome pass through the slot, onto the stick of Batherson. Kachuk in tight up, let's get going, scores! Brady Kachuk wins it in overtime for Ottawa.
Welcome to SENS Talk. My name is Brandon and I am your host. Today is a great day to talk hockey. We are just over a week away now from the regular season kicking off, as next Thursday Ottawa takes on the Buffalo Sabres to kick off the 2022-2023 regular season. So today is the best day, frankly, to kick off our three-part season preview series for your Ottawa Senators. Today we will discuss the forwards. Next Monday we'll discuss the defensemen and all the individual players within that position. And then on Wednesday, a day before puck drop, we will discuss the goaltending, which frankly just got really interesting with the injury to Cam Talbot. But in today's video, we're going to discuss all four forward lines with an individual focus on each player's season last year. So basically, we're going to take a look at all the forward lines, and I want to preface this right away by saying it's still a week away from the regular season, so I'm projecting the lineup as best as I can based off of what's happened in the preseason and players, experience and their pedigree and where they're at in the system right now. So I'm projecting the lineup. The top 9, you're probably going to agree with me with no doubt. The fourth line, I think most of you will probably agree with my projection. But of course, as usual, make sure to comment down below and let me know if you disagree. But yeah, so basically all four forward lines we're going to preview or project. And then I'm also going to take a look at each player on those lines, take a look at how they did last year, and as well, take a look at how they might even do this year with their new line mates. After that, we're going to discuss some of the depth guys that are not going to be quite making it onto the starting lineup, but will also still be on, the Ottawa Senators roster. So these are your guys that are going to be in the press box that are ready to play if there's an injury, whatever. So we'll discuss those guys. There's only 2 of them right now, but there are 3 different players making a push for those 2 spots. So it's going to be quite interesting what happens with that. We'll discuss that after. And then lastly, we'll discuss some prospects and or depth players in the system that might get called up throughout the regular season, whether it's a prospect getting a chance in the NHL or a depth guy like a Jace Howryluk, just throwing a name out there, that could fill in for a game or 2 if there's injury or immediate need at that position. With that being said, let's kick off today's video discussing Ottawa's first line, headlined by Captain Brady Kachuk. Surprise, surprise, but I see Ottawa's first line remaining the same as last season, with Kachuk on the left wing, Josh Norris at center, and Drake Batherson at right wing. Now, Kachuk last year played in 79 games played, with 30 goals, 37 assists for 67 total points. Reminder, that 30th goal came in the final game against the Philadelphia Flyers. A sick celebration ensued. Brady Kachuk is such a beauty, but he's also the best power forward in hockey, which is why this line is so interesting and unique. He also had 270 hits last year. And I don't want to hear any of this talk about Tom Wilson or whatever. Brady Kachuk is by far the best power forward in hockey. There's really no player like him. And this is just pure fact, not me being biased. Look, Kachuk consistently has almost 300 shots and 300 hits every single season while compiling nearly a point per game pace, 30 goals. I mean, you don't see players like this falling off the trees. Brady Kachuk is such a unique player. Centering Kachuk is Josh Norris, who had a breakout season last year in 66 games played. He had 35 goals, 20 assists for 55 total points, including 8 game-winning goals. He had a 51% face-off winning percentage, and he had 23 points last year on the power play. Now, for some, this is a bit of a concern for Josh Norris because, hey, that's nearly half of your points on the power play. I'm not too concerned, though. Ottawa brought in some incredible talent, which we're going to discuss after the first line, and Giroux and DeBrincat, and Ottawa's power play should only be getting better. So Josh Norris, yeah, maybe he's a little too reliant on power play points to get his, overall points up there. But overall, I think the entire team is just going to get better, and I don't see Norris regressing whatsoever. On top of the fact he has a pretty good face-off percentage, and I discussed this on Twitter I think it was a month or 2 ago, but if you watched some of Josh Norris's goals last year, he's not just on the right hash mark ripping the puck into the net, he's really driving to the net sometimes too. He's really more of a crafty player than some people make him out to be. So Josh Norris, I expect to have an even better season than last year, especially coming off of this massive 8-year contract extension. So Josh Norris, huge piece to that first line. And then of course Drake Batherson on the right wing there, 46 games played last year, 17 goals, 27 assists for 44 total points, 14 power play points, by the way. He's pretty good on the power play, only 3 goals on the power play, so really distributing the puck there. But if he stayed healthy, he probably would have been a 30-goal scorer. That would have made 3 30-goal scorers on the first line last year for Ottawa. He nearly only played half of the games last year. He was out long-term with that injury, thanks to that idiot Aaron Dell. But you know what? If he stayed healthy, 30-goal scorer. Don't see why he would regress anytime soon, especially with Tkachuk and Norris only getting better. So this line has a blend of power, scoring abilities from all areas of the ice, especially with Josh Norris having such a great shot, and some creativity too. I mean, look, Batherson has great hands, Tkachuk is always doing something, and Norris gets a lot of flack for this, but he actually has some dynamicness to his game too. So overall, this line has a nice blend of power with Tkachuk's physicality, scoring abilities like Josh Norris's patented shot, and of course, craftiness like Drake Batherson's hands. And frankly, all the players on this first line have good passing abilities. So really look for this line to continue their scoring rampage from last season. Last year, they had 166 total points, 82 goals. That should continue and more this year with the great support cast Ottawa has added in this offseason. This first line did great things last year with a much weaker team. I'm so excited to see how they do with an even better team around them. Now let's take a look at the second line, headlined by new Senator Alex DeBrincat. Now let's take a look at the second line for your Ottawa Senators, which frankly could be the first line for many teams in the National Hockey League. It's a filthy line, and it's headlined by two of Ottawa's key acquisitions this offseason. You have Alex DeBrincat on the left wing, Tim Stützle down the middle, and Claude Giroux, the future Hall of Famer, on the right wing. We'll discuss Alex DeBrincat first. The Cat last season played all games in the regular season, 82 games played he had. In those games, 41 goals, 37 assists for 78 total points. In the preseason so far for Ottawa, DeBrincat has 3 goals, including an overtime winner against the Montreal Canadiens, and frankly, he might be the pure sniper Ottawa's had since Mr. 50 and 07, Danny Heatley, and he might even be better than him if he signs a long-term contract extension with the Ottawa Senators, which according to insider Kevin Weeks, might be in the works. So we'll see what happens with that, but DeBrincat, holy cow, this is a steal, frankly, in terms of a trade for Ottawa. What they had to give up to get a guy of this caliber was pennies on the dollar, and DeBrincat is going to bring such versatility to that second line. He's going to be a threat every single time he's on the ice, and that shot is one of the best in the National Hockey League. It's an unbelievable acquisition, and Tim Stützle was just blessed with an incredible talent on his wing. Speaking of Tim Stützle, let's take a look at Tim Stützle. Last year, Stützle had 79 games played with 22 goals, 36 assists for 58 total points. Keep in mind that he played with third liners for the majority last season and had 58 points. 58 points as a 20-year-old. That's a 20-year-old. Most players in their entire National Hockey League career will not compile more than 58 points in a single season. Tim Stützle did it at the age of 20. Now he's going to explode offensively, no doubt, with guys like Claude Giroux, future Hall of Famer, arguably on one wing, and then on the other side, Alex DeBrincat, multiple 40-plus goal scorer. It's unbelievable that Tim Stützle was able to put up almost 60 points as, frankly, a rookie with third liners, and now he's getting a superstar and a superstar on his wing. Tim Stützle is about to explode offensively, and this is the year that Tim Stützle goes from well-renowned prospect and rookie to superstar in the National Hockey League and one of the better young centers in the league. There is one downside to his game. It's his face-off percentage. He has only won around 38% of his face-offs, but luckily for him, Claude Giroux is one of the best face-off men in the National Hockey League. He will no doubt help Tim Stützle improve this part of his game, while as well, look, if Tim Stützle is struggling in a game, Claude Giroux can absolutely step in and win some face-offs, especially offensive zone face-offs if needed. Speaking of Claude Giroux, he played in 75 games last year, compiling 21 goals, 44 assists for 65 total points. He also is 13th in the National Hockey League for face-off wins. Unbelievable. He has a 60% win percentage in terms of face-offs. He's one of the best in the league to win face-offs. And for guys like Norris and Stützle and Shane Pinto and Ridley Gregg, these young centers, Claude Giroux is an artist, and he's going to teach them the art of winning face-offs. So it's incredible. I can't say it enough. I can't believe Claude Giroux is an Ottawa Senator. I kind of just lost my train of thought there because of that. It's unbelievable that DeBrincat and Claude Giroux are Ottawa Senators with Tim Stützle. We are so lucky. This is going to be such a fun season, and that's why this line has the potential, frankly, to be Ottawa's nastiest line since the pizza line days. You have a multiple 40-time goal scorer on one wing. You have a young center, which might be one of the best in the league very soon, in Tim Stützle, and a future Hall of Famer on the other wing in Claude Giroux. It's unbelievable. Altogether, all three of these players last year combined for 201 total points, 84 goals. And once again, with Tim Stützle playing with legit superstar wingers, the sky is the limit for this line. And frankly, this line is going to be dominant. I mean, dominant. We've already seen small glimpses of what's to come. Just look at these goals from last night against Montreal with Claude Giroux and DeBrincat passing it to one another. This line is going to be such filth. every single night, and it's unbelievable that this is our second line, not our first line, our second line. So that line, the top six, is one of the best in the National Hockey League. Both can win you games individually. It's unbelievable, and I'm so excited to watch them play. Now let's take a look at the third line, centered by Shane Pinto. Now let's take a look at the third line for your Ottawa Senators, centered by Shane Pinto, with Tyler Mott on the left wing and Matthew Joseph on the right wing. Mott last season played in 58 games played with Vancouver and New York, compiling 7 goals, 8 assists, and 15 total points. He does have a couple of goals and assists in this preseason so far. He's looked very good offensively with Matthew Joseph and Shane Pinto, which is why he's slotted here on the third line. But he's really here because he's a fantastic defensive winger. Look, you're going to see Tyler Mott on the penalty kill, no doubt. He's basically replacing Alex Formenton from last year. And you know what? I really found this interesting when I was doing research for this video. But Tyler Mott has more takeaways and giveaways in his NHL career by a sizable margin, which is very rare for a winger. If you're a winger, you're often getting picked off, from the puck along the boards and stuff like that. It's very easy. You're very prone to get picked off along the boards if you're a winger. Not the case with Tyler Mott. It's actually the complete opposite, which is very rare. And I wanted to note that because Tyler Mott was brought in to be the defensive element on this line. Sure, Pinto and Joseph have good two-way games, and they're good defensively too. But Tyler Mott is a defensive specialist. You'll see him on the penalty kill. You shouldn't expect him to score 1,000 goals, but he can chip in once in a while with a few goals here and there. But Tyler Mott is a fantastic defensive forward, and he's going to be the defensive element on this line. And frankly, Vancouver fans, New York fans, they love this guy. I'm starting to see why. He's really impressed me in this preseason so far. Now, Shane Pinto will be the center of this third line. He's played in 17 games so far in his NHL career, getting 1 goal, 7 assists for 8 total points. He is tied for preseason goals in the National Hockey League so far with 4 and points with 7. So fantastic start to his season so far, I guess, as he's leading some key categories in preseason so far in the NHL. Also in college with North Dakota, he had a 62% faceoff win percentage, which is fantastic. He's probably, I put Claude Giroux as the first and the best face-off man on the Ottawa Senators, but Shane Pinto is definitely number 2, no doubt about it. And some people might say that's a hot take. I don't care. I'll stand by that any day of the week. And this is why, with his offensive abilities, he got like 61 points in 60 games in the NCAA. He's gotten 8 points in 17 games in the NHL, which is pretty good. I think he has the tools to be a top 6 center. Now, of course, with Stützle and Norris locked up long term, he won't be a top 6 center anytime soon. But the fact that he has the tools to be a top 6 center means he will excel on the third line. He will be getting power play minutes on the second unit as well. He's already done some good things with Claude Giroux and Alex DeBrincat. And I think Shane Pinto is absolutely going to have a breakout season for your Ottawa Senators. A lot of people don't know enough about this kid. They're about to learn quite a bit. Shane Pinto is going to have a huge season, mark my words. Now, the third piece of this line is Matthew Joseph. Last year with Tampa Bay and Ottawa, he had 69 games played, 12 goals, 18 assists for 30 total points. He will also be featured on that second unit on the power play more likely than not. And Matthew Joseph is like the Swiss Army knife of the Ottawa Senators. He's sort of similar to what Connor Brown brought to the team last year, and he's basically the new Connor Brown. He brings some speed, some scoring abilities, and he's also just a good energy player like everyone else on this third line. But I really like Joseph's offensive abilities. Sure, he's a fine defender, but offensively, I love his speed. I love his creativity. And defensively, too, look, with that speed, he's able to really clog up lanes. So this third line has a good mix of speed, energy, scoring abilities, and more importantly, a solid two-way game. And this preseason, frankly, this third line has been the best line of the preseason. They've been all over the place in a good way, not a bad way. And I really am excited to watch this line play. Ottawa's top 9 is one of the best in the National Hockey League. And you're going to get both defense and offense from this line, which is all you can ask for a third line. And I really think this third line is going to excel offensively while doing great things defensively. So watch out for this third line. It may be one of the best in the National Hockey League, no doubt. Now let's take a look at the fourth line, headlined by Parker Kelly. Rounding out Ottawa's top 12 forwards is the fourth line, centered by Mark Kastelic, with Parker Kelly on the left wing and Austin Watson on the right wing. Parker Kelly appeared in 41 games last year, compiling 12 points, 5 goals in those games. Kelly is a logical choice to debut on Ottawa's fourth line this season due to the energy he brings to Ottawa's bottom 6. On top of the 131 hits he threw last season, he as well had 11 takeaways, which shows he's often well positioned defensively to break up plays, which you desperately need for your fourth line. As well, Parker Kelly's basically been a shoo-in since the beginning of preseason. DJ Smith basically guaranteed he would be making the opening night roster, and frankly, I love the peskiness that Parker Kelly has. When Angus Crookshank, friend of the show, joined the show, the last couple times we actually ended up speaking about Parker Kelly on the show, and it's clear that this guy is a great person in the locker room, but he's a better guy out there on the ice. A very, very tough competitor, very pesky, likes to chirp, and that's what you like to have on your fourth line. A guy that can get into the heads of opponents. He kind of reminds me like a Chris Neal, and I love Parker Kelly. He's always bringing something to the table whenever he's out on the ice. Even in limited minutes. Look, he's on the fourth line. He's not going to be playing 12, 15 minutes. But in 6 to 8 to 10 minutes, Parker Kelly certainly makes an impact on the ice to the best of his abilities in short periods of time. Now, Mark Kastelik will be the center of this fourth line, which might be a little controversial, but last year in 16 games with the big club here in Ottawa, he had 4 points. Kastelik as well had a fantastic 58% faceoff win percentage last season with Ottawa, winning an incredible 70 of 120 faceoffs last year. He as well threw around 51 hits in those 16 games, showing that Mark Kastelik can bring the energy as well, and is ready to be a center in the National Hockey League on the fourth line, no doubt about it. He is ready to be a fourth line center in the National Hockey League. He has impressed me more than Dylan Gambrell and even more than Derek Brassard this preseason. He has earned that spot, and it would not make sense, in my opinion, for anyone getting that fourth line role other than Mark Kastelik. He has the face-off abilities. He wins the face-offs. He has scoring touch. He has a physicality touch. He's a good energy player. He's exactly what you want as a fourth-line center. And he's a prospect. He's a guy that you brought up in your system. So it only makes sense to reward the scouts that drafted him, and more importantly, the player, Mark Kastelik, for his incredible development and accomplishments to get to this point. To round out the fourth line, it's Austin Watson, who had 10 goals and 16 points in 67 games played last year, including a game-winning goal. He will bring some toughness to the lineup, and frankly is, out of all the options I looked at, the best option for Ottawa's fourth line right wing role. They're pretty thin at right wing after the top 3 lines, so Austin Watson will fill in there. He's on the final year of his contract, and I wonder if Ottawa puts in another option there at the right wing at some point this season. But for now, Austin Watson will be starting on the fourth line with Kastelik and Parker Kelly. Now let's take a look at some depth players and potential call-ups to finish off this video. Now that I've discussed all 12 starting forwards for your Ottawa Senators, let's take a look at the 13th forward, the extra forward, the forward that will be sitting in the press box on most nights in the regular season. This battle for one position is between two players, Dylan Gambrell and Derek Brassard. Now, Gambrell absolutely has a slight advantage purely because he already has an existing contract with Ottawa. Meanwhile, Brassard has a PTO. He's on a tryout agreement, which means Gambrell, if not given this position and not kept on the starting lineup or on the Ottawa Senators roster, and instead sent down to Belleville of the AHL and going through waivers, I guarantee you that Gambrell will probably be scooped up off of waivers. Gambrell is a fine fourth-line center for most teams in the National Hockey League, and he's absolutely an NHL caliber center. I think if he was in the AHL, he would dominate, frankly. I think Gambrell is an NHL center, but I think I would give this 13th forward position the advantage anyways to Derek Brassard, purely because Brassard plays a similar game to Gambrell. He has similar experience. He's loved in the locker room, and Brassard has much more of a offensive ability to give. Look, if you're the extra forward, it doesn't really matter if you're defensively sound. You need to have a good two-way game. Brassard is solid defensively, and he's a bit more of an offensive game to his style of play compared to Dylan Gambrell. Brassard got some power play minutes in the preseason, set up Shane Pinto and a couple of nice goals on those power plays, and Brassard has much more experience being an offensive-minded center. So I think if you're the extra forward, you're a guy that needs to be able to fill in really anywhere in the lineup. Derek Brassard has much more of an ability to do that than Dylan Gambrell. Once again, if Gambrell is not picked and is sent down to Belleville, I don't think he'll be an Ottawa Senator much longer. He will probably be scooped up off of waivers. He's a cheap contract and an effective fourth-line center. But this one really can go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ottawa elected to either keep Gambrell and give Brassard a two-way contract, so Brassard has that flexibility between the AHL and NHL, and they don't have to lose Gambrell, or they just cut ties with Brassard entirely and decide to keep Dylan Gambrell. It's really a toss-up. I'm just leaning towards Brassard purely because of his offensive abilities. Now, lastly, for the last thing of this video, let's take a look at some potential call-ups throughout the season. To finish off this video, let's take a look at some potential call-ups throughout the regular season, starting with Ridley Greig. Ottawa's best prospect had a fantastic World Junior Championship, capped off with the gold medal. He dominated every game for Team Canada, was one of their better players at the World Junior Championship, and overall, Ridley Greig in his junior career dominated with the Brandon Wheat Kings, and the only reason he's going to be a call-up and not a starting lineup guy is purely because there's no spot for him. They're not going to put him on the third line on the left wing. They want him to play center minutes. They want him to develop his center game and his, overall two-way, 200-foot game, and he's not going to do that on the wing on the third line. That's the only reason he's not in the NHL this year, because he's absolutely NHL ready. He's that good of a prospect. He's one of the better ones in the National Hockey League, not just on the Ottawa Senators, and there's no doubt you will see him at some point this season. But like they did with Drake Batherson and Josh Norris, it only makes sense to over-marinate your top prospect in Belleville, and never hurts. So at some points this season, you will see Ridley Greig. I would expect him to be a full-time NHLer by next season. Similar to that category would be Angus Crookshank, who would probably be making the team even on that fourth line instead of Austin Watson or Tyler Mott, but he's not because he missed the entire season last year with an ACL tear. He needs some time in Belleville to get back into game shape and to get consistent again, and also to get minutes. Look, he's only played 19 pro games, but he had a fantastic preseason, and I think you will definitely see him at some points this season, and next year he may be a full-time National Hockey League player as well. Lastly, Jace Hawryluk signed here as a free agent. He's on a two-way deal, and if they ever need a pinch guy that needs to be called up right away on an emergency basis, Jace Hawryluk might be the guy they call up. Besides that, thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you agree with my lines? Do you disagree with my lines? Do you think Mark Kaslick should be on the fourth line, or Dylan Gambrell or Derek Brassard should be on the fourth line? What do you think about the guys I said should be called up? Should I have mentioned Roby Darventi, Igor Sokolov, anyone else? Let me know in the comment section down below as usual, and thank you all for watching. I'm so excited. Can't believe the regular season is around the corner. And I'll see you on Monday for our defenseman season preview video. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Go Sens, go.